Kravitz. If you have not followed his Triple H horse racing podcast, you're missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.
Live from the Bayside Bunker, it's episode 2 of our brand new show, Wire to Wire, here on the HHH Racing Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Roscoe, and I'm filling in for Howard Kravitz as we cover the Coast to Coast Pick 5 for Saturday, January 10th, brought to you guys by our good friends over at Santa Anita Park and First Racing. Again, welcome in everyone. Thank you guys all so much for joining the show. I greatly appreciate it. Tonight, if you guys do enjoy the show, please go down below the video player, hit the like button, and hit the subscribe button. We would greatly appreciate it because not only is it the best way to help out our channel, as it's completely free to do for yourself, it also pushes these podcasts and others we do out into YouTube's algorithm to hopefully bring more horse players to the HHH Racing Podcast. And for that, we thank you. As I mentioned at the top of the show, guys, we're very lucky to be doing this again. Thank you to our good friends over at Santa Anita and First Racing for sponsoring tonight's podcast as we cover Saturday's Coast to Coast Pick 5, which features 2 races from Gulfstream Park and 3 races from Santa Anita. It's a $1 base minimum bet, so you have to press up your opinions and you have to be pretty skinny with those, but that's what makes the Coast to Coast Pick 5 ever harder to hit and also a ton of fun to play because you need to find where you can go skinny. And there are a couple races in here that, at least for myself, and I know my good friend Jackson Muniz, who will be joining me here in a couple minutes, we have our opinions and we're going to hope to play them pretty strong. But again, welcome in everyone to who are watching from Santa Anita's YouTube, Santa Anita's X handle, and of course Gulfstream Park's YouTube as well. We welcome you all into here. And again, if you enjoy the show tonight, we do these every single week here on Thursday night. So, and not only that, we also have a ton more shows, including shows on Thursday, Wednesday, Tuesday. They're meant to be Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday as well. Tons of horse racing content coming to you guys every single week. So again, if you enjoy the show over on Santa Anita's YouTube, X handle, and Gulfstream Park's YouTube, come on over to youtube.com/HHH Racing Podcast and hit the subscribe button. We would greatly appreciate it. Not only that, we also do all these podcasts in audio form over on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor. We have our tip sheets available over at hhhracingpodcast.com, as well as patreon.com/HHH Racing Podcast. Also, our great website over again on hhhracingpodcast.com. View a ton of stuff about us. Also, previous editions of those power picks before you buy them. Just tons and tons of good information over on all of those websites. So if you could check those out, we would greatly appreciate it. Mike Carmoli, my friend, thanks so much for joining the show. Greatly appreciate it. So far, it went very well. I didn't end up hitting the Coast to Coast Pick 5, but it paid a ton of money last time, which again is the reason to play the Coast to Coast Pick 5. And if you guys are new here in the live chat, of course, we do these completely live when we read every single comment. Please go down below the video player on the right-hand side, whether you're on X or on YouTube, and you can comment in the live chat if you have any opinions on these races, any questions. We would love to read and answer every single one of them. But without further ado, guys, let's bring on my good friend Jackson Muniz from the West Coast, who I'm covering down at South Florida. Jackson's got Santa Anita covered. So the perfect tandem, Jackson. How are we doing?
Perfect. It's perfect. I was at Santa Anita today. Had a good day. I know you had a good weekend at Gulfstream over the weekend. So we're on a little heat wave right now, and hopefully we can continue that momentum.
Yeah, obviously for all of us. And I know, again, funny enough, I have bigger opinions at Santa Anita than I do at Gulfstream, and I know you have bigger opinions at Gulfstream than Santa Anita. So this it's all working out, Jackson, to hopefully bring home a nice 4-figure score for everybody out there.
Yeah, that'd be nice. I actually played the Coast to Coast today, and cheap ticket, like $40. I got a live to 25,000. So like a third choice, and the horse ran dead last. So that's okay. It was a good ticket. Felt good about it, and we'll be back. We'll be back for Saturday. I don't know what you thought, Kyle. I really like the Sugets. I'm not someone that plays pick 5s very often, but I'm definitely playing this one on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, just not only field sizes. I mean, they have 9 in the 8th at Gulfstream Park. In the 11th at Gulfstream, they have 11 races, and that's actually one of the future races on the card, including which is the Sunshine Filly and Mare Turf, which of course we covered on Betting and Booze, and we covered that late pick 5. So that interests you. You can watch that after this show. But it's Santa Anita again, 12 in a 6 furlong turf race. You know that's never easy. A field of 10 in another 6 furlong turf race, and then a field of 11. So just tons of big fields. That dollar-based minimum as well is a very big pro for this sequence. So we're very excited to cover it for you guys tonight. As I mentioned there in a little bit, it starts in race number 8 at Gulfstream Park, which starts at 3:50 p.m. Eastern time. But not only that, Jackson, on this, it actually will start in race number 9 at Gulfstream Park, but they have a very exciting sequence that it starts, like I said, in race 9. The Sunset Pick 6 is also another bet that First Racing offers, and there's over $12,000 carryover that goes into that starting on Saturday's races, or on Friday's races, excuse me. So they will start at Gulfstream Park, race number 9. So that's definitely something to look forward to, especially if you're one that plays pick sixes. Any carryover is always free money. That always means extra juice in the pool for yourself. So if that interests you at all, Friday's January 9th, Sunset Pick 6 starts in race number 9 at Gulfstream Park. So get your money in there. Lots of good racing to cover there. But Jackson, of course, we're going to cover our races, which starts in race number 8 at Gulfstream Park. $84,000, mile and the 16th on the dirt. Maidens 3 years old. Field of 9 as I bring up the Equibase on the screen right now. And since we're not doing this show on Wednesdays like we normally do, we actually have morning lines and PP numbers. So that's a beautiful thing that we love to see in the program. You can see the morning line favors all the way to the outside. The number 9, Pax Mundi, Irad Ortiz, Jose D'Angelo at 7-2 on the morning line. Second choice all the way to the inside. The number 1, Ramajay for Gaff Leone and Safi Joseph. Third choice is the number 3, Thunderously, Junior Alvarado, Bill Mott at 9-2. And Jackson, to kick off the day, very based, my friend. Both going with the 4th choice, Sartorial for Jorge Ruiz and Rusty Arnold. I know you're a fan of Jorge Ruiz, as I have been. I think he gives very good rides on horses that a lot of the times are bigger prices. So that's always good to see him winning at a good clip of with horses that not necessarily are the best when those rides are taken up, by Irad, by Gaff Leone, now Junior Alvarado, or now Joel Rosario, who's going to be at Gulfstream Park on Saturday. But you and I both have this horse on top for Rusty Arnold, both coming out of 2 races at Churchill Downs. But Medagliadoro Mare, lots of things to like here with Sartorial.
Yeah, this is going to be my single. I have been waiting for this horse to run back ever since the Churchill race on the 20th of November. I've just been waiting for his name to pop up in the entry box, and here he is at Gulfstream Park. And I don't know, I feel like he's found a field that I didn't think was particularly strong. I'm not sure how good this group is, and I think this horse might be pretty good. His first 2 races were solid. They both came at Churchill. The debut came in a race where it was just a total merry-go-round race. He's the only horse that closed. Ran really well to be 3rd for a barn that just does not win first time out. So anytime they run well first time out, I'm going to pay attention to it and look for him next time. And then the same thing kind of happened. He found himself in a race where merry-go-round race. The speed horses went 1-2. No one really closed at all except for him, who made this big move from the back half of the field and ran well in that spot to finish 4th. Galloped out really strongly. I think finally getting to 2 turns is going to be good for him. He'll be more forwardly placed. Lasix going on. Just a lot of things to like about this horse. And again, as I mentioned, I don't think this is a particularly strong maiden group. So I think he's going to have every chance to win. And I hope we get 5-1. I don't think we will, but I hope we do.
I don't think so either. A lot of people seem to gravitate to these horses, right, that run these big closing, especially on debut. Did it last time out as well. And lost to 2 really respectable horses who are both stakes winners next time out. Obviously, Incredible. I showed it on the screen. Came back to win the Grade 3 Street Sense at Churchill Downs, going a mile and a 16th. And Chip Honcho came back also out of the next race he ran in to win the Gun Runner at Fairgrounds for Steve Asmussen. So again, lots of things to like. I do for all those points that we just mentioned. I don't think we're getting 5-1 on this horse, but again, you're talking in pick 5s, right, Jackson? And these morning lines, people people don't think they make a big difference, especially when they start off a leg. Maybe they try to get by with, Irad and Pletcher out to the, or Irad and D'Angelo, excuse me, to the outside, who's not going to be 7-2. He's probably going to be lower than that as well. So, but Sartorial, fourth choice on the morning line, could make a difference in payout here.
Yeah, the morning lines especially matter in a bet like this, where it's retail only. I think that's where you're going to really see a difference. Although this is the first leg of the sequence, so people will be able to see the odds. So that might deflate his value a little bit, rather than him being 5-1 in the last leg, where you're not going to be able to see him be taking all that money. But I think your point still remains. He might play higher than 5-1 in something like pick 5, especially if you're going to single him like I am.
Basically, yeah, the whole point I was making, right, is that if he goes off at 5-2, obviously that will deflate a little bit, but I still think the 5-1 might hold some weight in that. We both have the number 1 in there, Ramajay. This is a horse that in all of his races, really, except the first one when he was under Jeremiah O'Dwyer, was just go, go, go. The last two for Edgard Zayas. Edgard's actually in Tampa Bay for their big day, which we Picks and Ponies just covered here in the HHH Racing podcast about, I don't know, 2 hours ago at this point. But Ramajay is one of those horses that could probably get loose and wire this field. The number 4, Redemption Hour, is also very quick, was very quick on debut. Now gets Castellano aboard, so that horse is most likely going. But if he can get to the inside, if they don't go as fast as it looks like on paper, I mean, he's one that could escape with it as well. But this is one of those, difference of running at Gulfstream Park, finishing second to Blame Yourself versus running against those stakes winners as the number 5 Sartorial has.
Yeah, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head. The key to this horse is speed. You got the rail. You're stretching out from sprints. You've been running at fast paces. Go to the front, try to bottom out this field and see what you got. The problem is, as you also mentioned, there's other speed. The 4 is very quick, as is the Danny Gargan horse stretching out from 6 furlongs. So
yep.
I don't think he's going to have things his own way, but if he does, he's dangerous.
And that's why I had him in 3rd. I completely agree with that. The only other horse you have in there is Thunderously. And actually, a couple of my co-hosts on yesterday on Wednesday for Betting and Boozing liked this horse a lot. Obviously, the number one thing when you look at a horse like this, right, is Bill Mott's numbers first time out. It's never a thing I like to bet personally, just knowing his numbers and how he likes to take his time with a lot of these horses. But tell you what, Jackson, this horse is working very, very well out at Payson. And really the only time I end up paying attention to these Bill Motts is when they start working out really, really fast in the mornings before debut. Because he's another one of those trainers that does not do that, does not crank him up like a Baffert or a Wesley Ward, something like that first time out.
Yeah, I was able to watch some tape on him. He does look good, I will admit. I can't get past the 0 for 39 the last however many years. I mean, that's ridiculous. Think of all the good horses Bill Mott has had. He just doesn't do it. It would take a very good horse to overcome something like that. Maybe he is that good horse, but he's not going to be doing it with my money.
I couldn't agree with you more, really, on that. I mean, you go first-time starters for routes, and you can just apply the filters over the last 5 years. 9 for 173 as the number on that.
And again,
40 of those in the
Bill Mott we're talking about. We're not talking about a low-profile barn that's 70-1 in every single race. These are legit horses. So
yeah, I mean, you're exactly nail on the head. That's why I don't have the horse anywhere. Obviously, if he wins, I'm not going to be surprised. This is also a gun runner. I mean, gun runner wins at 20% with his 2-year-old first-time starters, which is just an asinine number, really. But again, I'm with you, especially because he's going to be a low price based on those works, based on Bill Mott, a Wathnon horse that sold for $300,000. This horse is going to be low, and it's not something I'd be willing to trust with my money and not include in the pick 5. Really, the only one I wanted to include other than that was Pax Mundy. And I know he's been facing against softer in these Gulfstream Park. Last time out, lost a Bull by the Horns, who was a Saffy horse. Came back, was entered in a race that we covered on the show, and it ended up scratching. But this was one that was actually trying to slip through on the inside. This had Edgard Zayas, so this was kind of like the horse on that day. Got bet down to the same exact price of the end up winner, number 2, Bull by the Horns. You're looking for the number 3 here in this race, and we're just trying to go to the end, to the top of the stretch here, because he's making a nice move on the inside and ends up trying to fit through this hole, and he just ends up not being able to get there. Ends up finishing out past the number 5, Thousand Spirits, but Bull by the Horns got a super easy trip that day. Obviously did it very, very well. number didn't come back too high, which is really the only negative here. If this horse comes back, with a 70 buyer in this race instead of a 53, I know I'm, being another hypothetical win for the SEC type beat in this one. But if he came back with a 70, this horse would be, 6-5 or something like that in a race like this. So I'm going to give him one more chance. He's finished second twice. Been bet both times. You're getting IRAD aboard for D'Angelo, so willing to take.
There's no way he's going to be favored, right?
No, if he is, I don't.
I guess IRAD money is a real thing, and it very much is a real thing. But boy, on his form, I don't see how he's going to be the favorite in this race.
I know, and D'Angelo takes a ton of money down there as well. So, I mean, very soft morning line favorite. Obviously, like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if our horse was the favorite, just based on the numbers that he's ran in the last two. I don't necessarily think that any horse is going to be, 9-5, 2-1, something like that. But 5-2 favorite for the 5, I could easily see that. Something along those lines. Pax Money being at that 7-2 price. Those are the two that I'm taking and kind of trying to get past this race. But I completely understand the single. I could easily do another ticket where you end up pressing up the 5 as well, because I have a single later in the sequence too, which could help obviously down the line for your kicking construction and bankroll management. In race 8 at Gulfstream Park, I'm going 5-9-1. Jackson's going 5-1-3. Jackson, the next race in this sequence is Santa Anita Park race 4, and that is at 4:30 p.m. Eastern. Of course, the first race is at 3:50, but you're going to see it in Pacific time on Equibase. But it is 4:30 p.m. Eastern. It's a 40-minute gap in between these two races. It's a maiden special weight, sprinting 6 furlongs on the turf for all Calbreds in this race. Then you can see only 3 years old as well. Draws a full field of 12. Morning line favorite is the number 9. Dark Omen for Kent DeSormo and Aggie Ordonez at 3-1 on the morning line. And that horse is just basically solely based 3-1 based on the way that horse has been working in the morning. Second choice being the number 4, Romantic Ride, Juan Hernandez for Vlad Serin at 4-1 on the morning line. Your third choice is shared between the number 7, Almost There, and the number 8, Tsunami, as I bring up the picks on the screen right now. Maybe we should play this together, Jackson. You ever thought of that? We're both going with the number 8, Tsunami, the third third choice on the morning line. I have the 7, Almost There, in second, with the number 4, Romantic Ride, in third. Jackson has number 2, Monsieur Big, Umberto Rispoli at 15-1, and the number 7, Almost There, in third. Jackson, I'll let you talk first. Obviously, hopefully we're right and continue to be right through the start part of the sequence. But last time, Tsunami, I thought ran very well, and now getting extra ground.
Yeah, I think for me, just Calbred maidens as a whole, especially 2-year-olds or newly turned 3-year-olds, I'm always giving extra credit to horses that have run before, because I feel like all these races are they're so similar in ability that extra fitness, that extra experience always ends up mattering in the end, especially in turf sprints where the margin for error is so thin. So Tsunami's horse I actually bet on debut, and he ran well. It was not a very fast pace. I know it was contested, but it was pretty slow. Had to go a little wide in the stretch and just was second best that day. He ran perfectly fine in that debut. You see, he's wide in the stretch and, finishes up nicely enough for the Mike Bipey barn, who doesn't usually run very well first time out. So again, the fact that this horse ran as well as he did on debut was pretty encouraging. And I want to bet him back second time out, where hopefully the more ground is going to do him some good. Maybe he can be a little bit more forwardly placed. Maybe we can see him move forward from start 1-2. But him at 6-1, I think, is a really good price in the spot.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, and we'll see what ends up the price at post time. In terms of, horses in form, and obviously you could take that for what you will, being this is a maiden race, but this race to me, at least visually, stood out to all the other horses in this race, which is why I ended up going with him on top as you did. Getting that extra route of ground as well. Sir Prancelot does better with these longer turf sprints, not so much at the flat 5. When you get to the 5.5, 6 furlongs, he gets to be even better. Kimura stays on as well. And you mentioned Mike's barn doesn't necessarily do first time out, but you can see on the bottom of the screen, small sample size, but still winning at a 25% clip, 3 for 12. Second time out as a maiden. So I like everything that you said about Tsunami, and just added on that the Sir Prancelot should only get better with the longer sprints. I really do like Tsunami in this race. You have Almost There in third, Jackson. I have him in second. Another one that's shown fine form, hasn't really, been close in any of the races. He's finished back by 4 in both times. Lost to Cal's Goal last time, who came back and won Del Mar in an optional 20. So again, some things to like in this one where, a lot of these horses haven't run before. This horse has run twice. So experience could be the difference here.
Yeah, I agree. I saw the same things you saw. Look, he ran a 51 Beyer in August as a 2-year-old. You got to assume he's probably taken some kind of step forward since then. And if he has, he's another one that should be right there by the time they hit the wire. So just in good form, is tactical as well, and makes some sense in this race.
Yeah, and Ryan Hansen, even though off the type of layoff, he's not the best off of here, but gets Lasix for the first time after those since they turned 3, and they can have Lasix now. So lots of good things to like with Almost There. Maybe, if I was playing, probably not one on the win end, although I am going to include him in the pick 5 because while I do think he can win, probably not willing to bet him at something like 5-1 on the win end. And I do think the drop from 6.5 to 6 will also benefit him, being that he kind of gave it up a little bit for the final 1/8 of a mile. So getting that 6 instead of 6.5, I think will benefit as well. And I'm glad you have this horse in there, Jackson, because this is the only other horse that I included. I'm actually going 4 deep in the pick 5, and I included Monsieur Big. Really good connections. George Krikorian, obviously, the owner of Warlike Goddess, Tim Yakteen, who's had a good start to the winter meet at Santa Anita, and you get Rispoli aboard.
Yeah, I did the seminar with Frank Scantoni during this card at Del Mar, and I loved this horse on debut. He was working so well. He was fast out of the gate and was finishing up really nicely. I thought he was going to run huge, and then none of that happened. He didn't show any speed. He just stayed in the back the whole time, and he just got bet like crazy and didn't run a step. So I don't know what happened. Maybe I'm just misreading what he did in the mornings. Maybe he's just a morning glory. But at 15-1, I want to give him another chance in this spot, especially for these connections, as you said. They usually get better with racing as well. The turf is supposed to be okay. And again, if I'm right about him having speed, there's really not much speed of the horses that we've seen up to this point. So hopefully he can be more forwardly placed than he was last time and can run a lot better than he did.
Yeah.
15-1 is a great price.
No, I agree. And maybe this horse is just meant for turf. Obviously, this horse, Keep the Magic, hasn't had a whole lot of runners coming out on the turf. Trail Magic had one race on the turf, didn't run the best, but Mr. Big out of Dynaformer has had some decent turf runners, even though the numbers are not the best. Again, kind of in Tim Yakteen I trust, but I do agree with you on every single thing that you said, why I'm including this horse in there. Not to mention, he's actually working pretty well. The minute and 3 is one thing to key in on, 20 of 104. One thing I want to mention, this is completely on a tangent. I love the Ohm horses and how they're named. And my one that comes to mind, of course, is Omen Joy. After Almond Joy, and then Bring Home the Bacon. I just wanted to mention that because I see it in front of my screen. Romantic Ride is the other one that I added in here. Off the claim for Serin from Ed Moger. This horse working absolutely lights out. You can see that 46 flat in the mornings. Last time out, JJ hops aboard this horse. I Love Romance was a synthetic turf horse all the way through. And if you go back to Romance Rider, she also had a race on the synthetic, but this looks like almost a turf meant runner, and this is obviously what Serin had in mind immediately, right? Saw this horse for maiden 30, claimed, and now puts back on the turf, working very well. Serin's decent off the claim, very small stand. He doesn't really he's a smaller barn. He doesn't really claim a whole lot of horses. So being that this horse, 4-1 morning line, gets JJ aboard, put on the turf immediately, I just like that type of move, and it shows the trainer intent for Vladimir Serin. So definitely one I wanted to include. But again, there's other horses in here. Dr. Filkins ran a half length behind our horse, Tsunami, and looks, at least based on morning lines, to be 5 times the price of that one. Obviously, you could argue the upside on that horse versus someone like Tsunami. But again, and in Dark Omen, I mean, we don't have this horse anywhere in here. And I know I have a feeling of what you're going to say and why I don't like him either on Saturday, excuse me. But you got to, this horse is flying in the mornings, basically.
Yeah, and he actually looks good on tape too. It's not like it's just a fast printed number. Like he actually is looks good. So I'm not going to be surprised if he runs well. He's the one I may end up throwing on my ticket just because this is a leg I feel least confident about. Yeah. So I might throw him in there. Maybe we can use some will pays and get some toe clues. But that's the stat that worried me a little bit. Now, to be fair with Aggie, all those horses were 10-1 or higher. This horse is going to be the major contender. So she does have that going for her. Kind of taking a wait and see approach with this horse, but no doubt this horse is pretty quick.
Yeah, obviously, absolutely, and obviously you get Kent aboard as well. That's the stat I couldn't shake, and you are right that she has only had horses really above 10-1. In terms of first-time starters, this horse will be one of the lower bet horses and might even get more than 3-1, even though he's working so well. Just the stats with Aggie first time out might cause that price to drift up a little bit. But again, that's the reason we didn't use her on our top 3 here, but one that you could probably include on your pick 5 if you can afford, because that would be that's one you'd look back on when you're constructing your ticket after that horse wins. You'd be like, how did I not have this horse on top with the back-to-back bullet works out at Santa Anita? In race number 4 at Santa Anita, I'm going 8-7-4. Jackson's going 8-2-7. And there you go. See, Racing Downwind says 29% with state-bred horses. So that's exactly another angle that you can go through with Aggie, but obviously not with first-time starters. But she is very good in these state-bred type of races. The next race in the coast-to-coast pick 5, the middle leg of it, is race 6 at Santa Anita Park. It goes off at 5:30 p.m. Eastern, 2:30 p.m. Pacific. The starter optional claimer for $50,000, going again 6 furlongs on the turf for fillies and older fillies and mares. Another full field of 10, which is the beauty of this coast-to-coast sequence. You'll really never find a race with less than 10 horses in it unless there's some extreme circumstance based on the race that it is. The morning line favorite in this race is the number 6, Cloudy Women, the Florida bred for Hector Barrios and John Sadler, 5-2 on the morning line. Second choice being the number 3, Hey Little Lady for Umberto Rispoli and Rob Hess, 4-1 on the morning line. Your third choice is the number 5, Pocket Venus for Abel Lescano, I believe, right? And then Mark Glatt at 9-2. That's a host fail, actually. I think might be race 11 at Gulfstream Park. Yeah, it's 5:20 versus 5:30. So that's my apologies, guys. I'll put the hand up on that one. That's a host fail on my part. I had them mixed up in the banners here. Gulfstream Park 11 is the next leg in the Coast to Coast Pick 5. I'm sorry, Santa Anita, don't kill me. I apologize. Race 11, 5:20 p.m. Eastern. It's the co-feature at Gulfstream Park for the day, which I will actually be there for. The nice. Sunshine Filly and Mare Turf, a full field of 11, so still follows that type of wavelength there. It's 75,000, 1 mile on the turf for older Florida bred fillies and mares. The morning line favorite is the ever talented, the number 11, Great Venezuela for Gaffleone and Victor Barbosa Jr. at 5-2. The second choice, the number 7, Ashima for Castellano at 3-1. Third choice shared between the number 6, Spirited Boss, and the number 9, Rugelach, who I know you are one horse that you are very familiar with that horse. But Jackson, my friend, maybe we should play this together on Saturday, but we were both going 6, 7, 10, 10 or 11. You have Super Zonda in third. I have Great Venezuela. So talking about this race, Jackson, obviously we're both going with a decent price in here. Not sure what we'll get on her at post time, but just based on numbers, she looks a little slow. But that last race is what I keyed in on yesterday. And I'm sure it's the one that you're going to key on as well last time at Tampa for Spirited Boss.
Yeah, for me, it's more just, they got to fly in here. Look how much speed is signed on in this race. The 2 is stretching out from sprints, and she's been quick up there. The 3 is going to go. The 4 is stretching out from sprints. The 7, who we're going to talk about, is quick. I don't think she'll be on the lead in this race, but she's quick as well. The 8 is going to be fourth place. The 9 has to go. The 10 has to go. The 11 is a sprinter that is on the lead in turf sprint. She's going to be on the lead in this race from the outside post. There's just so much pace in this race. It kind of falls. It's supposed to fall in the lap of the 6th. So I don't really care that she might be a couple points slow in the figures because I'm hoping this field comes back to her in this spot. And it's not like she ran poorly last time at Tampa Bay Downs. She ran really well, and she was favored there and got the job done off the bench. So she's supposed to take a step forward in this spot. She's run well at Gulfstream Park before. That's not going to be too big of an issue for her. And, like I said, she can take a step forward in here because that was her first race since June. So if you're going to get 6-1 on her in this spot, I think that's a really good price.
It's exactly what I said, is the fact that this is the one horse I feel like in a race of we know a lot of, this is the one horse that can take that step forward. And you're going to get the price to find out. If she's going to be 5-1, give me every single bit of that 5-1, because even though she really did get a perfect trip in here last time out, she actually had to deal with a little bit of adversity. She had to wait to the inside. Then the 9's could actually come across her face here, and they're going to have to pull her out, but still finishes up. Even though she loses all momentum, she still finishes up really, really well in this spot. Is she facing anywhere near that in this, what she is in this race, in that race? Absolutely not. However, visually, I do like the way she ran, and Jackson, you hit it on the head. There's a ton of speed in here. She's going to be mid-pack exactly like that. I love that she drew the 6 post. Lots of horses to both her inside and outside are going. She sits right on the rail, gets IRAD aboard. This is everything I want in a race like this that looks on paper like it should melt down. But the number 7, Ashima, Jackson, is really the class of the entire field, running at these nice handicaps down at Gulfstream Park, which no matter the time of year, they really are very good and very competitive. I read, and the other thing I keyed in on with this one is the jockey gymnastics, which I don't usually like to key in on too much, but IRAD rode this horse to a win last time at Churchill, still chooses to go to the number 6 Spirited Boss. But Ashima, again, tons the class and the reigning champion of this race from last year.
Yeah, I don't have a lot to add. She's a horse that can be on the lead if she needs to be. That's probably not what's going to happen on Saturday. She'll probably be coming from off the pace, but she did that last time on Claiming Crown Day against a really good field at Churchill Downs. And it's not like this turf course is any different. She's 5 or 6 in the money and has 2 wins here too. So very logical, the horse to beat. You're kind of talking me into singling the 6, though, because I think we'll talk about ticket structure later, but I'm now debating it a little bit.
Yeah, which actually, funny enough, we were exactly the same as you see on this race. Yeah. We were both 6-7, but like I said, you could single the 6, but again, this is one of those horses that I don't want to lose to, because this is the very obvious class of the race. And if I don't have her on tickets, maybe again, this is one thing where you play another coast to coast, right? And you're able to press up those opinions in there. But yeah, Ashima is definitely the one to beat in here. And Kevin Lux, Kevin, thanks so much for joining the show, man. Greatly appreciate it. Talking about Spirited Boss, I'm sure 3-1 by post time. I'm not sure she'll be that low just because of how slow she is really on paper, but I think she'll probably be 4-1, 9-2 range. Yeah, exactly, Jackson. I think that if she goes off at 9-2, I will definitely be still playing that race on the win end. And actually, Super Willowa from Mike Trombetta, I wanted to bring this up. Andrew Rosinski, who's a host over on my show at Betting and Boozing on Wednesday nights. Again, we covered this card. Super Willowa, who actually has been very impressive for Mike Trombetta. Andrew's very good friends with Mike Trombetta's assistant, and he said that a lot of horses in Mike Trombetta's barn got sick throughout. You can actually see at the Gap and Works here from December 7th to December 31st. So talking to Mike, they were saying that she might be a little short. However, she does look good in the mornings, looks to be close to 100%. They're just not sure if she's exactly ready to go. So take that information with what you will. We shared it on Wednesday. Definitely we wanted to share it. Now, the only other horse you want to talk about, Jackson, is Super Zonda. Mark Casse, another one coming from that Tropical Park Oaks race as a 3-year-old. Obviously, now every horse has now turned 4, quote unquote, through the system. But this is another one that lightly raced 3-4 could take another step forward.
Yeah, honestly, I kind of just needed someone in third. She doesn't want to rate at all. I mean, she has one way to go. They've tried to rate her before recently, and it hasn't really worked out. So she's probably looking at another 3-wide stocking trip. But if she's somehow able to clear this field early and establish the pace, then yeah, maybe she can be really dangerous. I just don't know if I want to be betting on that.
I completely understand. That's actually why I have Great Venezuela in third. This horse ran runner-up last year. even though Ashima won that race, this race is probably a little tougher than that Sunshine Philly Mare Turf was last year. Great. I mean, I love this horse. This is one of the cooler horses. This falls into the same length of like Fly the W, right? Where this horse is just always super game, super competitive in these races down at Gulfstream Park, although 99% of them are sprinting. And a good point that was brought up yesterday was I think she's just a synthetic horse. I mean, it's obviously synthetic horses can run on turf, but she's 8 for 8, never been out of the exacta, 7 for 8 on the win end on synthetic, and that's all sprinting. They tried, I think I'm for the connections, I'm sure just the value is there, and she ran well last year at a mile. This is just almost looks like a completely different animal, for lack of a better term. There was really no pace on last year in the Sunshine Philly Mare Turf. Now you're getting a ton of it in this year. I think she can stalk, which is the one thing why I have her in third. Yeah. But I think it's definitely going to be a much tougher trip around the track for her than it was last year as the reigning runner-up to Ashima, of course, being the reigning champion. Lots of other horses that. What's up?
I don't think she's going to be the favorite either. I think she could be like 5-1 come post time. I mean, the
Yeah,
outside post, the lack of route experience. I can't see this horse taking that much money.
I agree. Barbosa does take a decent amount of money. I actually really like Barbosa. Complete Florida trainer through and through. 20%. Gets Gaff Leone aboard. I think she'll definitely take some money. I think she'll probably be right around where Spirited Boss is, somewhere in that 4-1 range.
Sure.
Ashima will probably be 5-2, that favorite. But if they're both around 4-1, that wouldn't surprise me at all. In the Sunshine Philly Mare Turf, not Santa Anita's 6th race. Again, my apologies to everyone out there. I'm going 6-7-11. Jack's going 6-7-10. I mean, it just follows us around everywhere. There's no
you
way
should have heard me at Santa Anita today. I was there the first hour I was there because they have the analysts are on the loudspeaker.
Yep.
It's like Michelle Yu and Millie Ball and all them. They said it like 6 times. I'm not even kidding. Like they're doing it on purpose. They have to be.
Yeah, I know. It's like at some point it almost seems like they have to be doing it on purpose.
Yeah.
But next race, guys, is that aforementioned race 6 at Santa Anita. It goes off at 5:30 p.m. Eastern, 2:30 p.m. Pacific, a full field of 10. I already mentioned the favorites. I don't want to bore you guys again with saying it. Just the morning line favorite is the number 6, Cloudy Women. Putting our picks up on the screen. I did go with Cloudy Women. Jackson, I completely understand why you didn't. I do like the 3, though. Hey, Little Lady, who you have on top. You're also going with a little bit of a price in second, and number 10, Clubhouse Cutie. So I'll let you talk about first. What'd you like most about the number 3, Hey, Little Lady?
Yeah, I just feel like she's been up against it lately in her last few starts. You look at what post she's drawn. She's been the outside posts in 2 of her last 3, and the other one she was wide in that race too, and then just wide trip. And it's not like she ran horrible in those spots. Those races all came against much better. I think this is probably a much better spot for her. She's dropping class, going back to a sprint where she had a lot of success here early in 2025. You look what she did over this turf course. She only sprinted on the straightaway twice, and she got a win. And then she finished second with no setup whatsoever against Jungle Piece and Shillified, both of whom are pretty solid allowance horses. So I think that's getting back to her game in this spot. She finally has a good inside post. And I think she's every bit as fast as everyone else to the wire. The one concern I have is the lack of pace potentially in this race. I didn't see a whole lot of it, but I think if she is able to overcome that, maybe the pace heats up a little more than expected, then I think she's very logical in here. And I do prefer her to the 6 who we're going to talk about.
Yeah, and that's actually my exact point why I only have her in third. I do think she can win. The pace scenario was just the one thing that did concern me, because I do think that's exactly what she wants to do, is getting back to this 6 furlongs. You can see she's ran at a mile 4 of the last 5 times. Not really done a whole too lot, which I think actually might dirty up her form and make her a little bit better price. You get Rispoli aboard, which is obviously one of the best turf riders out at Santa Anita, out in California for that matter, every single year. The only thing I didn't like about her as well, Jackson, was the fact that, she's running in these nice, optional claimer 180. Now they're willing to put her for the tag for 50. I guess that's really the only concern that I would have. But it almost just seems like they're trying to get her to a level where they can win. And if they have to go in for the tag down here, that's just what they're going to do. So not the biggest negative to me, but I guess it is worth mentioning. And Cloudy Women is that horse, Jackson, that I mentioned earlier. You can see fast pace for every single time that she's ran. She's actually been close to the pace, which is my hope when there's not a whole lot of speed on in here. Breaking from the 6 post with Hector aboard, who's actually my favorite turf jockey out there at saying, I know you guys follow that same type of based opinion. I know. But I'm hoping basically if there's no pace on, she can settle a little bit closer, even though she will be the morning line favorite.
Yeah, I don't have any argument against her at all. She's very logical. She's the horse to beat. I just think if I'm putting her up next to the 3, and I think they're very identical, and I think the 3 is a much better price. So I'm going to prefer the 3 horse in this race.
No, absolutely. And that's a very valid argument. Especially in terms of a pick 5 scenario, Jackson. I mean, the 3 is going to play much bigger than a horse with Hronis, Hector Barrios, and John Sadler as the connection. So definitely one thing to keep in mind there. And Noah's already given me crap. I did go 6-7 again in this race. And I'm not even on purpose. I just was clicking through. I promise. I was clicking through horses. I look at my picks again. I'm like, I'm going to get crap for this. I know it for sure. I went with Lady Rider in second. Juan Hernandez hops aboard this horse. Vladimir Serin does the training job. A little bit step up in class here from the last ones that she's been running in, but really she's passed almost every test and run very, very well. And really ran well the first time on turf. Cutting back from the 6.5 to the 6, I think benefits her for the same reason it benefited the horse I talked earlier. She kind of not really gave it up as much as the other horse that I talked about in race 4 at Santa Anita. The number slipping in my mind, as I'm sure you can tell. But still gave it up a little bit at the end. Juan Hernandez hops back aboard. A little bit of a freshening up for this one as well, coming off a little bit of a 3-month layoff, which will be in this race. But again, working very, very well. It's down at Santa Anita, 6 out of 99 in the last work at December 29th. So all systems seem to point to go. And second time on the turf, this horse could have the ability to improve. And if that is the case, this is probably the one I'd want out of a lot of others in here that have kind of stayed stagnant at that mid-70s level. Jackson, you're thinking the same thing, just on a different wavelength here. Clubhouse Cutie, the number 10 for Ian Kruljack. Only time on turf, ran at the 6 furlong distance. This horse has been almost what looks like on paper. I'm not for sure. Looks a little ouchy, like they have a couple problems. They leave her, off for a little bit between starts, but won very convincingly last time in the maiden 50. Now put her back on turf, where that's by her best number by far.
Yeah, that was my angle too. Just the one turf race was pretty solid. I mean, she got a 68 buyer in there. You look what the favorite's been running lately. I know that she ran in 75 last time, but prior to that, it was all high 60s numbers. So, I do she needs to run faster, but it's not like she has to improve that much to be competitive in here. She also didn't make the front that day. I do think there's a legit chance she does make the front in here because there's not a lot of speed, as we mentioned. So I think the plan with her is they're just going to send her to the front and see what happens. And a lot of times in turf sprints, as we saw today at Gulfstream with a 4-1 shot, that's all you need to be is in front, and anything can happen.
Yeah, and just don't remind me of last week with that horse that you texted right immediately after that Gulfstream Park when that horse went wire to wire at 3-1 in that flat 5 turf sprint. Could be exactly the same thing here. And obviously I do like your thinking. Marco DeMuro hops aboard as well, who's been riding very, very well to kick off the winter at Santa Anita. Other than those horses, Jackson, I don't know what you thought. Nothing really stood out to me at all other than that. Maybe the 4 with a couple starts on turf, but it's, again, just one of those horses that seems stagnant at those low 70s, high 60s buyers. Really, the only other horse I wanted to mention at all was Pocket Venus from Mark Glatt. Just with Glatt aboard training job, these horses are going to take money. Horse has numbers, but absolutely no turf breeding at all.
Yeah, and also no excuse to the last 2 starts when she was favored, and she is supposed to win both of those races the way they unfolded.
Yeah,
kind of feels like they don't really know what to do now. Like, okay, well, I guess we'll try the turf because we can't figure out why she's losing these races on the dirt. So, and as you said, she's going to take money in here. I'm going to try to beat her in this spot. The horse that's probably going to win is the 2 because I have better in like 8 of her 9 starts, and I'm finally giving up on her today, and she's probably going to win for fun because the turf sprint when she won last November was really good. It was a good field and big number, and then she just never really quite lived up to it. But if she can be fourthly placed maybe in this spot, then yeah, she can be dangerous.
Yeah, and the finally giving up angle is always a good one to follow for
horse like 90%. It never fails.
It seems like it never fails for sure. And again, I agree with you, 6 furlongs, but just you mentioned it, she never really showed anything, especially here at Santa Anita. You could argue Del Mar was probably a little bit better for her, even though she hasn't sprinted Del Mar since that race, which again, you could argue whatever way you want, has gone down the hill, ran at 6 furlongs Santa Anita last time, never involved in this race. She should be a little bit more forward, but I mean, it's hard. It was hard to trust for me in the fact that you're giving up on her. I guess makes me feel a little bit better, but also makes me want to put the horse in my big 5. But race 6, Santa Anita, I'm going 6, 7, 3. Jackson's going 3, 10, 6. Last race of the coast to coast pick 5 on Saturday, Jackson, is race 8 at Santa Anita. I'm for sure certain it's race 8 at Santa Anita. This one kicks off 6:30 p.m. Eastern, 3:30 p.m. Pacific time as your final race for the coast to coast. It's a claiming 25,000 event going a mile on the turf, full field of 11. Morning line favorite is all the way to the outside. The Florida bred, fantastic for Juan Hernandez and Peter Urton, 3-1 on the morning line. Second choice, the number 7, Don't Swear Dave for Tiago Pereira and Hector Palma, 9-2. Third choice, just the outside of that, Russell's Hustle, the number 8, Hector Barrios, Peter Miller, 5-1. Dude, we're live. I promise that we did these.
Text you on Saturday morning.
Yeah, I think so. We'll definitely have to do something. We're both going with the number 8, Russell's Hustle, the third choice. Again, we mentioned it a lot. Hector Barrios, Peter Miller, all signs seem to go with this horse and in a claiming 25,000 event, which could be tough. Just trying to find horses that are dropping versus horses that actually, are dropping to have a chance in here. And I think one thing I need to mention before we start is good luck to our good friends over at Adelphi, including Howard, who has a piece of this horse, Gem Mint 10, newly trained job for Falcone, who brings this horse out to the West Coast, hopefully for that ship and win bonus. So good luck to our good friends at Adelphi. And of course, the boss man, Howard Kravitz. But Russell's Hustle, Jackson, has run some really, really nice races, including 3 back at Del Mar where he ran a 90, dropping probably to where, he hasn't really run well the last 2 times, probably just dropping in for Peter Miller to where he can probably win.
Agree. I think this is a warranted drop in class for him because he really didn't have an excuse last time. I know he was facing much better, but he also never really picked up his feet in that spot. Now, the race 2 back, I thought he did have an excuse. He was just so wide. It was a crawling pace. He just had no chance the way that race unfolded. I think today there's just a lot of speed for him. And as we talked about in an early race, it's really supposed to set up because Neon Lights has one way to go. Jimmy Blue Jeans, when he's at his best, and especially for the new claim, he's going to go. Gem Mint 10 is going to go. So I'm told it's always on the lead in these turf routes. I mean, there's a lot of speed. A lot of horses want the front end, and it should set up for a horse like Russell's Hustle, who's going to be coming from probably mid-pack, maybe a little bit further back than that, but very, very logical horse. Those races 3 and 4 back really stand out because if he runs back to those, he's going to be awfully tough to beat in this race. But even if he runs back to that 80 Byron, I mean, that kind of puts him right there too. So he just seems very logical. And as we talked about earlier, I don't know if he's going to be 5-1. It seems like this is where if you're going to pick a horse, like he could come down to 3-1 come post time, and that's where you're going to get all the value is in the coast to coast pick 5, where it's kind of going to be hidden.
And this is my single, Jackson. So you hit everything on the nose. I just think two, like you said, 3 back, 4 back, even last time, just a number alone can win this race. Yeah. And if he gets back to those races, he's going to be awfully tough. And the 5-1 morning line, as you mentioned, should be pretty hidden, should probably play a lot bigger in this pick 5 when you're just instead of playing straight up, because even if he does end up going off, because again, this horse, like I said, is probably pretty obvious to a lot of people. Goes off at 5-2. Probably will play much bigger than that in the coast to coast pick 5. So that might be a place to run value. And this is the single I could have gone with the 5 that you went with in the first leg, but ended up going here. And I know I the one thing I don't like is I don't like singling horses that are like 1 for 10, like anything, but this just seems like such a logical spot for this horse. Been facing much tougher. Last time that was at this level in both the starter allowance condition and the claiming 25 edition going a mile. Win 86 buyer, nosed out 83 buyer, win 90 buyer. So dropping this horse where this horse most likely can win. I really, really do like Russell's Hustle on Saturday at Santa Anita. Jackson, you're going with the morning line favorite in this race. At least on the morning line, fantastic Peter and Juan Hernandez, who, again, has run some also very good races in the past. Just these last couple have been a little iffy.
Yeah, that October 19th race I thought it was a little difficult to dissect because you have, I think, 5 horses coming out of there, and they all ran pretty well, but they also all didn't have things completely their own way. So I thought you can kind of make cases for all of them. He ran well, and there was not a super fast pace, and he had to move wide on the final turn, and he was closing best of all in that spot. So I think if he's able to save a little bit more ground in here, he's going to be able to run better. The problem is he drew the 11 posts,
right?
So that's difficult to overcome. But again, when you have races that have so much speed as this one does, the field gets really stretched out. He'll be able to have much easier time of going towards the rails, maybe being too wide, tucking in, saving some ground in a race like this, because he's another really cool horse, veteran horse, shows up near basically every single time. And one of his better efforts is good enough to win this race.
Yep, and I completely agree with that. Only thing was the post that scared me a little bit, and the fact that this horse really, the last time out at this type of level, has been dropping off, at least in terms of speed figures. So can he get back to the 90s? I'll tell you what, if this 10-year-old can get back to that form that he showed early in the year, he can definitely win this race. But again, that's one thing that I'm willing to play against. Couple others in this race I want to talk about. Dakota Country is a 15-1 shot that I'm actually a little interested in for Kimura and Steve Sherman. 2 for 2 on the Santa Anita turf course. Granted, his best races are nowhere near both the 8 and the 11's top races, but you're talking about horses on the decline versus horses that have run some very nice races. I know last time out he ran, tell you, it follows us around. Ran a 67 buyer last time out. That was against much, much tougher in this field. So getting back to that 25,000 that he was claimed for and getting Kimura aboard, I think a lot of the things are at least good enough to finish in the exacta or trifecta, let alone on the win end for this horse at a nice price, but definitely underneath more for this horse in the 10. And the only other horse we need to talk about, Jackson, is the horse that we have in third in Jimmy Blue Jeans. You mentioned when this horse is at his best, it's go, go, go all the way through. Right. And he's ran really well. This is just another one, 8 years old. Almost seems like he's on the decline, but first claim for Papa Dromo. You guys mentioned this on Tuesday on Pacific Horse Players. Anything that Papa puts out right now, you need to pay attention.
Yeah, and usually most of his horses have that style, right? He claims them, he gets them, and sends them to the front. And I think look, there's a lot of speed, but that's got to be the plan, I would think, with this horse. Maybe he just doesn't have that speed anymore, but if he's able to refine that form, 10-1 is a really good price on him. And this barn's been on fire for 2 months. So maybe the switch up can wake him up a little bit, and we can see a much improved performance out of him.
Yeah, but again, you're taking an 8-year-old to try and make that big jump up from before. Always a tough ask, but much nicer at 10-1 than it is at 3-1 to try and bank on that. Howard, of course, in the chat. Thanks for the shout out, guys. Hope to have some luck on the track and at the windows. And he is going to the track, Santa Anita. So Howard, of course, have fun and good luck. And he says, if the 10-year-old wins, I will be out of the coast to coast bet. Pablo Garcia, excuse me. Hello to you. Good. Thanks for joining the show. A new viewer of the show. We greatly appreciate it. And shout out to, and I know Jackson's going to hate that I do this. Shout out to both Noah and Matt won the evening Turfway tourney, and Noah and Matt won the evening cash Turfway tourney. So look at that. See, talking about a lot of stuff in tournament form and with our other shows on this platform. So if you're not watching those shows, you're definitely missing out. This guy which way is it? To that way is also very ingrained in the contest things over on Twin Spires. So definitely one thing to keep a lookout for and check out if you are interested. Jackson, talking about ticket construction earlier, you're taking a single with the 5 in the first leg. That is the Gulfstream Park 8th with Sartorial. Then you're going 5 with 278, with 6-7, with 3-10, with 4-8-11 for a dollar bet. That is a $36 ticket. So again, nice and cheap, the one you can play. And you talked about the couple races that you don't feel the best in. Obviously, those are the ones you're going 3 deep in.
Yeah, even more than ticket construction, I want to talk about like sequence selection because I think just people in general just play way too many pick 5s. And my kind of rule is I want to be confident enough to bet ideally all 5 of these races individually, at most 4. Like I have to have strong opinions to play something like this, especially when it has a dollar minimum, which is going to rack up your ticket costs even more. So this is a sequence I'm really excited for. So going to single bet 5 horse in the first reg at Gulfstream Park. I told you before, like I've been waiting for the horse to come back, and you said we're going to cover this race, and I'm scrolling through the race. I'm like, oh my god, there he is, perfect. Like I'm done. I'm going to single him.
Done.
Everyone else is no good. Like perfect. We're going to single that horse, get some separation early on, and move on with our lives. And then that second leg is the Calbred Maiden. That's a tough one. I did go 2, 7, 8. All of them are kind of prices. I may end up throwing in the 9, just because I'm a little worried about him. But it only cost me $12 more. It's not crazy. And it's the race I have least amount of confidence in. So I won't feel too badly about having the favorite in that spot. But that third leg, I may end up pressing up the 6 on another ticket as well, because there's just so much speed in that race. It has to set up for that horse. I mean, if she shows up and can get through all the traffic, I think she's going to be right there. But the 7 is another horse that just makes so much sense. She's a horse to be another one that can come from off the pace. So hopefully that race stays together. I think sometimes the trainers will see all the speed and a couple of them will come out.
Well, there's at least no weather, Jackson, so that can't be the deterrent for people. So if there's another reason, but yeah, I completely agree with you. That's by far at Gulfstream Park, at least, that's by far the race of the day.
Right. Agreed. And so the fourth leg, I'm going to try to beat the favorite, Lady Rider. Cloudy Women. I don't really have a huge argument against her other than the price. And I just prefer Halo Lady, who's going to be a much better price, drawn towards the inside. Going to use her from off the pace than Clubhouse Cutie from out of it. Just going to double up with those 2. And then the last race we just talked about, I'm going to go 3 deep with those 3. And hopefully we're live to some really nice payouts, because with as big of these fields as we're going to have in this sequence, this thing should really pay. I think a lot of people are going to have to spread to get alive to the sequence.
And the fact, you have 6-1, I think, morning line single, if not 5-1 morning line single. I also have a 5-1 morning line single that I'll talk about here in a second. So I know, and when you're talking about pick 5 ticket construction, right? Obviously, first race that holds the least amount of inherent value because people can see the board, they can see which horse is getting bet down. So that in turn maybe has a little bit less of value. But in terms of me, right, if you have the 8 singled in the last leg, which I'll bring up my ticket on the screen right now, that's 5-1 morning line with a bunch of others in there that seem competitive, that it's third choice 5-1 as well. So that could hold a lot of inherent value in terms of people maybe trying to get away with being a little skinny and being it so they can spread in, that second leg or that fourth leg like I have, and ends up just coming out that 8 where I can get a lot for a little bit. But in first race, I would be fine with singling that 5 Jackson as well. Just being the last couple races, being from the clouds, and Gulfstream Park's actually been very receptive to those types of trips on the dirt, which usually Gulfstream Park's a very you have to be forward type of dirt course, but good on them and good on obviously First and everything they've done over there to prepare that track for the winter meet, because it's actually playing very, very fair. But I went with the number 9 Pax Mundi as well in there. Irad hops aboard, had a little bit of trouble last time, little bit slower than the 5, but if she just trips out, maybe gets a jump on Sartorial, the number 5, I could easily see that horse winning as well. So wanted to go 2 deep in there, 5-9. The next race is that turf sprint at Santa Anita. If you know anything about me, guys, if you watch this show, you guys know how much I dislike turf sprints like that. And if I don't have a good opinion, I don't see, I don't want to go 7 deep by any means, but if I have the chance, if I don't feel confident, I'm going to try and catch a price in there. I have the 2 at 15-1 Monsieur Big, who you talked about, for Tim Yachtine and Rispoli and George Krikorian. Lots of things to like there in terms of connections. I have the number 4 Romantic Ride for Vlad Surin off the claim. The number 7 Almost There for Ryan Hansen at 6-1, and our top pick Tsunami in there at 6-1. So trying to catch a little bit of a price going against the favorite, the number 9 Dark Omen, for at least on the morning line for Aggie Ordonez and Kent DeSormo. Going to try and beat that one, because no matter who comes in there spreading without the favorite, you are going to catch a good amount of value if you can get through that leg. Jackson, I completely agree with you in leg 3. I could see myself singling that 6, but Ashima is the class of the field, and that's the one horse I mentioned that if I lose my pick 5 to that horse, I'm going to be upset. So maybe I'll end up playing a press-up ticket, singling the 5, singling the 6, and then singling the 8 on the back end. Maybe I could even spread in that last leg around the 8, because I'm able to press up with 2 other singles in a couple other races. So that could be a way that I could get through in that race. But 6, 7, I feel like is the only 2 horses that you need. Stop it. I'm trying to just keep going without it getting.
I'm on mute. I didn't say anything.
No, I know. I can just the crack of your smile makes me stop. But those are the only 2 horses I think that you need in there. Obviously, the only other horse that would scare me at all would be Great Venezuela. But I think that horse is much better on synthetic and much better sprinting. So willing to take a chance on leaving the favorite out in that race as well. 4th leg is the 6th race at Santa Anita. That is, of course, and I'm going, I went 6, 7 in there again, but I'm going 3, 6, 7, 10. Hey, Little Lady, Jackson's top pick. Definitely have to include. I did include the favorite, Cloudy Women, because like Jackson said, really, I don't have any knock on her. I just wouldn't be willing to bet her vertically at 5-2 in that race, but I want to have her in there in the pick 5. Lady Rider for Surin and Juan Hernandez, the number 7, and then number 10. I actually did include Clubhouse Kitty. I forgot about that in there as well. 15-1 morning line. That could be a nice boost for us. And then the last race, that's just my best opinion on the entire day. And even though if she's 5-1, I don't have any aversion to singling a 5-1 horse in a race like this, where I have a pretty strong opinion with Russell's Hustle for Peter Miller, Hector Berrios dropping back down to that $25,000 claiming level where he's been so good at before. No problem with that type of drop. They're just trying to get that horse where he can win. That night, if he gets anywhere near, like we talked about, that 83-90 buyer, will be very, very tough. I don't necessarily think vertically he'll play 5-1, but being the last leg of the pick 5, like I mentioned, should still get that type of 5-1 value in a pick 5 sequence. Jackson, my friend, thank you so much for joining me. Greatly appreciate it. Always a good time when I can see your face on the screen next to me. But most importantly, thank you all out there, and thank First Racing and Santa Anita for sponsoring this episode. Without you guys, we would not be able to do this show at all. So your support means the world to all of us. I see a bunch of people in the chat. Jim Pillars, James in the chat, everyone out there. Thank you all for watching episode 2 of Wire to Wire here on the HHH Racing Podcast, covering the Coast to Coast Pick 5 for January 10th, 2026. And tomorrow, guys, don't forget to play the Sunset Pick 6 at Gulfstream Park and Santa Anita with an over $12,000 carryover. Lots of stuff to love coming from First Racing over the next couple weeks, especially as we get running into the road to the Kentucky Derby. But for my co-host, Jackson Benitez, this has been your host, Kyle Roscoe, for episode 2 of Wire to Wire on the HHH Racing Podcast. And we're doing the betting and boozing outro, you best believe. Until next time, everyone, crush those bets, win those photos, and stay safe, everyone. We'll see you in the next one. Have a good night.
If you have not followed his Triple H Horse Racing podcast, you're missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.